Core. Core. You are listening to Core, a show on Code Zero Radio that plays bands located in the Fox Cities. A show to find and discover new music. Hosted by Andy McNamara.
Hello everybody, welcome to Fox Cities Core here on WCZR Code Zero Radio. I'd like to welcome you if this is your first time tuning in. Code Zero Radio is a streaming station. We focus very heavily on music from the Fox Cities. We've got a lot of live content, a great crew of people here. If you haven't tuned in or haven't checked out our full schedule, you can find that at live.codezeroradio.com. On to my guest today. Trash Pandas is an original rock and roll band from the Green Bay and Fox Cities area. They write their own music with a mixture of influences, different genres such as pop punk, alternative, hard rock, and blues rock. I'd like to welcome Lacey from Trash Pandas to Fox Cities Core. How are you doing today, Lacey?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Andy?
Good. Thanks for coming in this morning. I know you've got a show later today.
Yep.
You also played yesterday, and we're going to talk about it later in the show, but
Okay.
Trash Pandas definitely has a heavy schedule. How do you keep up with doing all these shows and you know, still have a life?
I don't. I mean, it's pretty much at this point where I'm either going to work or I have a band practice or I have a show. Every now and then I have a random off day, but for the most part, everything is very scheduled out right now, and I just try to get sleep once in a while.
Later today at 4:00, you're playing at Paperfest in Kimberly, and I think was it Sunset Park? Is that the name of the park? I think it's Sunset Park.
I believe so.
There was a little schedule confusion as far as the time you're going to play, but could you let the listeners know what time to show up today if they want to catch Trash Pandas?
Yeah, so we are playing on the original stage, which I can't remember the name of, but you'll find it. I know I'm so informative. But we're playing at 4:00. It was originally going to start at 5, but they scheduled an extra band, and our guitarist plays in another band that's playing later tonight, so they put us in an early spot so we could still do it.
What's the other band?
He plays in a band called Infrared. They're a rock cover band in the Fox Cities area.
So they're not playing at Paperfest, but they're playing at a different.
Correct. I believe it's like Dairyland Brewery.
Oh yeah, it's close. That's close to here.
Yep.
So when did you get into music, Lacey? Have you been involved in the scene for a while, or musically? When did you start getting into actually performing?
My first time performing, I think I was, outside of like school stuff, I think was when I was 16 or 17. I just played with a friend who did an acoustic guitar, and we'd go to open mics, things like that. And when I was a senior in high school, we put together my first band with me and a couple of my buddies, and we just played covers, went out in our area, and we started getting hired on places during the summertime to go play, mostly cover music, but it was all in like the Crivets area, so, small town stuff, but we had a good time, and I've been doing it since then, had a couple different bands, but this is my first original project, and we've been doing it about 3 years now.
What were some of the songs that you were covering early on when you started?
We did a lot of stuff that was actually more like 60s, 70s. A lot of bands seem to go with like, the 80s stuff, Journey and Poison and stuff, whereas we were doing more like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, and I don't know. We kind of did what we wanted to do within reason. It's like we wanted people to know it, but we also kind of wanted to surprise them. Like, oh, I didn't expect them to do a David Bowie song,
What was the spark that made you want to move towards original music from playing covers?
I mean, I always kind of did. It was difficult for a while to find a group that wanted to do that because, I mean, it's more popularity and more money in the local scene. If you're going to do a cover band, people want to hear what they know, especially if they're going to go to a bar and drink and stuff. They want to party and sing along. So, but I was always really interested in doing original music, but it just took me a while to find the right people to do it with.
Have you always been like the front person, or do you also play an instrument like guitar, bass, or drums?
No, I don't. I don't play any of those. I can play piano, and I've done that a little bit in some of my past projects. But for the most part, I stick with vocals and do the frontman business.
Is that obviously a spot you're comfortable with?
Yes.
Is there challenges as far as like writing lyrics to you? Is that something you like doing?
I do, yeah. I mean, pretty much all of our songs except for one were mostly written by me, besides maybe a line or two. Sometimes our old bassist, who he doesn't play with us anymore, but he would bring in like a line and be like, "Can you write something off of this line?" And then I'd come up with the rest of the song. So, but no, I've always been a fairly good writer. I always enjoyed the poetry classes and stuff I had to take in high school, so it comes fairly naturally.
You mentioned the bass player that was Dan. Your new bass player is Jake Herman.
Yes.
Has Jake changed the dynamics as far as writing? You mentioned that Dan would kind of give you a bass line and ask you to write something to it. Does Jake do that same thing, or is it a little different with his dynamic in the band?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest difference is just like Jake will have an idea, whereas Dan would write out like almost an entire song on a bass and be like, let's do something with this. Whereas we're a little bit more like, okay, let's add this in here and this in here. It's more of a collective thing. Not that it wasn't before, it's just a different way of doing it.
You guys have one album out so far.
We do, yes.
And where was that recorded? Where did you guys do the recording for that?
So it was a mixture. We started and did a couple songs with Wessing Studio and with Steve Wessing, and we did a good chunk of it at Rock Garden Studio. And we actually did, I believe, 2 songs at Stargaze Studio, which is my drummer's house. He does recordings now too.
Excellent. So as far as like doing it at this Rock Garden versus the house, was there one spot that was more comfortable to do it at? Like, or did you like focus on doing the drums at Rock Garden and then the rest at the house, or was there a reason that it was split up between the two places?
Mostly because we trusted, Rock Garden to do a really good job, and we wanted to work with Mark, but Wayne was also trying to get into the recording, and since then he took, all the online classes with some fancy music school that I cannot remember the name of right now, but no, it's something that he was interested into getting into, and he wanted to give it a try, but he didn't necessarily want to take over the entire project right away.
Did you guys do hard copies of this album, or just released it digital, or both?
Both, yeah. We don't have any vinyl, which is something people have asked for, so we might do that. But yeah, right now we have CDs, and you can get it pretty much anywhere you can stream music: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. There's a few on Bandcamp, but not the entire album.
As far as merch goes, is merch something you enjoy doing? Like some bands really go out of their way to get some different, unique products to sell. Do you guys have a lot of different stuff besides music that you sell, like T-shirts or like some random different things?
Yeah, I mean, we have the basic kind of stuff. We have a couple different T-shirts you can get, buttons, stickers, can koozies. Right now we also have some drumsticks. My drummer ordered them, like I think they're Scorpion brand, and it has our logo and his signature on it, which is kind of neat. So yeah, we're getting into more of it. I always thought band merch was super cool, so I like being able to go in there and try to figure out new designs. And we've done some of it just like on the internet. My friend Alex Sheriff did our logo for us. And then we also have another local artist we work with who did a different T-shirt design for us with that logo. So, yeah, I think the merch part is fun. I like being creative with it.
Do CDs sell? I mean, do you sell a lot of CDs? Or is it T-shirts is the main.
I mean, t-shirts more so than CDs, but we still sell a fair amount of CDs, more than I thought we would when we started getting into it.
So knowing what you know now, when you go back to record the next album, so vinyl, it sounds like, is on the table or like a possibility.
Right.
Do you feel that there is a strong importance to like get stuff digitally released as well? I mean, if you had to pick one or the other, do you listen to a lot of music on Spotify or any other
Yeah.
platforms?
Yeah, I mean, it's just become a really easy way to do it, anything that you want in one spot. Uh, I'm old school. I do like getting the CDs. I like looking at the artwork and reading about everything, But I know that a lot of people that, are my age and younger and some older too would rather just stream things. So I think it is really important to have that out there on the internet for people to find. Otherwise, you're just not going to be found by a lot of people.
And is the next album being written right now?
Yes, we're
It
in
is.
we're in the process of doing that. We have 4 songs that are complete and 3 that are in the works. So we're up to about 7, and we're hoping to do a full 12 songs on the album.
Is the style similar to the last album, or are you kind of changing the direction of the music?
It's a little hard to say because we don't necessarily have a specific style. Everyone in the band has very different influences. Like our youngest member just turned 21 and our oldest member is 56. So we have a really big range in there and everybody likes different things. So even if you listen to our first full album, there's, a lot of differences from song to song. So I'd say that we're still in the style of alternative. There's some lighter stuff and some heavier stuff, but it's also going to sound a lot different than the first album.
It's interesting, like with the age difference in there. Like, how did you guys meet? What brought you guys together as a band?
That's a long story, but I will tell it. I started playing a little bit of music just for fun with somebody that I worked with, and from there was somebody on Craigslist that we hooked up with as well, and we're playing a little bit of music with. So the work guy somehow knew somebody who knew my current drummer, Wayne, and so we hooked up with him just because we heard this guy was interested in being in an original project and we needed a drummer. Didn't work out with that person that I knew from work, but we still kept the other guitarist on, and then Wayne added in somebody on the bass that he knew from a cover project he was in. And then after a few more months, we lost our first guitarist. He wasn't interested in doing it anymore, so we added in our current one, who is Curtis, and that is actually the son of the guitarist. That was in Wayne's cover band. So, yeah, it's a big map of how we got to know everybody in this group.
Obviously, the band is good friends. Like everybody gets along.
Yeah, we do. We're an interesting dynamic. Even though we have that big age difference, everybody's pretty chill. It doesn't make much difference to us. None of us are like big partiers or anything, so there's not a big disconnect in what we do. We all just want to write music, and that's the main goal. So
Besides doing shows, does the band hang out outside of shows and outside of like practices and things like that?
yeah, we do. I mean, as much as we can. We do have a new bassist now, but we used to, go over to Dan's house sometimes, do a cookout or something. I go hang out with Wayne quite a bit. We go to do like yoga, and we go to Safe Haven Cat Sanctuary sometimes. We love our cats. And yeah, we've gone up to Wayne's cabin and hung out and stuff. We don't do as much with Curtis because he's even busier than the rest of us because he has 2 bands. But now everybody gets along super well, and we're kind of like a family. I always call Wayne my band dad because he is, just a little bit younger than my actual father, and then I got my 2 brothers in the band. So yeah, it's a good dynamic.
That's awesome. And we had a question. This is an interactive show, so if any of the people watching have a question, just feel free to fire away or call in. The number's crawling on the bottom. This question comes from Tony. He wants to know, if you had to be stranded on an island for the rest of your life and with only one local artist, would you select Sons of Kong or 94 Distortion?
I mean, that's a hard question. But I guess I would say Sons of Kong because I know them more personally and I know that I would get along with them. They're pretty cool guys. 94 Distortion's a very cool band, but we haven't played with them yet, so I don't know for sure if we would be friends or not. I assume so, but yeah, we'll go with Sons of Kong.
And thanks for the question, Tony. There are so many great bands in this area.
There are.
The guys from Sons of Kong are great, great group of guys. Have you met a lot of people in the local scene that it's got to be in a way like high school where you're like seeing people, but it's almost better?
It's better, yeah. I mean, I went to a super small high school too, so my graduating class had like 40 some people, so I definitely know more people in the music scene than in my high school class. But yeah, we've met a lot of people, and we're always looking for new bands to play with too, because when you're in an original group, you go and play for 30 minutes to an hour, and then you need to fill some more time, so you just keep looking for groups that will fit with you, or at least just fun to play with, because we do multi-genre shows quite a bit too.
Can you band name drop some of the bands that you like in this area, or some that stick out in your head if you had to put together like the perfect show with Trash Pandas? Who would you select as your 3 bands to play with?
Oh,
This is just hypothetical, and everybody in the band would probably pick different bands.
they probably would, yeah. That's a hard question because I do have a lot of cool bands that we've played with, but people I've really enjoyed playing with are like Sherry Lane. They're a cool band, really chill guys. Radio for Pets is really cool. I've known the guys in that band for quite a while. They used to play different shows with my band in college here and there. So, yeah, I guess like off the top of my head, I would pick those 2 to go with us because they're just super cool guys. Their music is fun, and I enjoy being around them.
Before you were like actively performing in a band, were you checking out local shows, or was that something you didn't do until you started?
I mean, I'd get to them here and there, but I was, I haven't been in like, dead space for a long time performing wise. It's like I was always at least in a cover band, so I would, be doing my shows more than going to other shows just because you only have so much time. But I would try to go check out different groups when I could, especially friends from college that had bands, things like that. If they're doing a show, try to go support them, check them out. But yeah, I definitely see a lot more shows now that I'm in that scene.
And I suppose when you're not playing a show today, like, now being in Trash Pandas playing so often, that's probably on the bottom of your list to go out and see a show that you're not a part of, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, here and there, it's like I'll have a night off, and if one of my friends from the bands invites me out, I'll go do it. But also, when I have a night off, it's like, oh, let's sleep. So.
Do you, like, as far as protecting your hearing when you're performing, are you wearing earplugs or anything?
No, I'm not. I probably should, but no, I have not gotten into doing that yet.
Are your ears ringing typically after a show, or kind of muffled?
Not usually. If we have really bad sound people sometimes, but for the most part, our sound people have been good, and we run our own sound at a lot of shows that wouldn't have sound people too. So, yeah, for the most part, as long as the person running it is good, it's not too bad on the hearing.
And as far as practicing, do you practice in like a kind of a cement basement area, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a finished basement. Wayne has his whole studio thing in there, so he's got like the padding on the walls and stuff. Like it's probably a nicer, fancier basement than a lot of people practice in.
So that doesn't not tough on the ears down there either.
Oh no, and I mean like I said, he's got all the equipment, so we do like the whole in-ears thing, and so you can dial things up or down as much as you want with that, which is really nice.
That's cool. So you do that during live shows too? You're using the in-ear monitors?
Not usually.
So just during practice?
Just during practice.
Interesting. Any like reason why you're not using them during shows?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the way that most sound people work. It's easier to just go with what they know,
Right.
than try to do all the in-ear stuff.
Well, I suppose, yeah, if you're on a bill with 3 other bands, all of a sudden you're bringing extra stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, Lacey, congratulations. You made it to the band reaction portion of the show. That's where we play a clip from a past band. Mm-hmm. We get your reaction.
Okay.
So this clip is from Sit Kitty Sit, who I know you're familiar with.
Yes.
You've played with them before. Mm-hmm. And probably playing with them again coming up, I'm assuming. 'Cause we'll talk about your schedule later. It's got a lot of stuff on it. This is Sit Kitty Sit when they were on the show earlier in the year. So let's see what you think of this.
Band reaction. Band reaction.
Are you guys sentimental do you try to save like flyers and different things from your career?
Oh yeah, we've got a bunch of show posters and stuff. And
yeah, if they're cool,
Yeah.
like especially when we're on the road, because a lot of people, like the other bands, will design the posters, So there's some very creative ones that have come out that, will show up at the venue and we have no idea. Like, we'll walk in and be like, what is that? Like, that's really cool. So yeah, we definitely keep some of that stuff. And I do have like a little bit. I have like a box I keep stuff in. I would love to be like a scrapbook person, but I'm just not. So but I do have like a box that I keep things in. Like, I'll keep one of every t-shirt we get made if it's a new design. Mm-hmm. I'll keep one of every like new patch, new whatever. And so I do have a box of that stuff that's kind of shows the history of the things.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool posters that we'll probably, like you'd have here. Like, I love, getting them framed and having them up, which we just haven't got to yet. But we will eventually, I think. Yeah. When we have a more permanent studio.
That was the clip from Sit Kitty Sit when they were here in April.
Mm-hmm.
What's your reaction to that? What do you save merchandise and flyers and things like that from?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of flyers, so it's not like everyone anymore. When I first started getting into it, it's like, oh, I need to save every poster. But I definitely don't do that anymore. I do have a big pile of them. I'd like to, hang them up, kind of like what you do here, but I am not that organized at this point. On the other hand, my drummer Wayne, who is, very organized and meticulous with everything, has a whole bunch of them framed in his basement. So it looks very cool, and I wish that I was a little more like that.
Does the band design a lot of the show flyers, or is that something that's normally done by the venue?
It depends. We've done quite a few, but yeah, sometimes a different band that is on the bill will do it, or the venue will do it. It really depends. We're not picky, Wayne does most of our stuff on the computer with that, so he doesn't mind, making the posters at all. But if somebody else wants to do it, he's kind of like, go for it. I got enough stuff to do.
It's probably sometimes you're not thinking about it until like the day of the show, and then you're at the venue and you're like probably scoping out posters on the wall, like the ones that you might be able to take without anybody noticing.
Right.
That's cool. And so you've got some flyers, but not. Do you save like one of each shirt? I know Kat and Mike said they try to save one of each shirt design.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we only have 2 t-shirts, so I don't have, a ton of those yet. But yeah, we're working on a couple more designs with that, and I definitely will be saving some of everything we get in the merch department. I just think it's cool memorabilia.
And it's probably good we use Sit Kitty Sit for band reaction, because they are playing after you today at Paperfest, so you're going to get to see them.
Yeah.
Also, friends of the show, More Than Mary, play after Sit Kitty Sit. This just looks like a great a great Saturday lineup to go see.
It does, yeah. More Than Merry is a band we've tried to do shows with in the past and never quite gotten the schedule together. So I'm excited to see them today. I know they're really cool.
Yeah, and other bands, Moose, Bridger, and The Winter. So you can just get there for Trash Pandas get there 10 minutes early, 3:50, then just park your chair there for the rest of the night.
Right, I think it's going to be really cool. Lots of different original stuff from different genres. I think it's just going to be a cool night.
Do you like playing these types of things, like the festival type shows?
Yeah, I do. I love doing all of the bars and everything too, but when you go to a festival, you get a whole different kind of audience and new people to see you. And yeah, I don't know. Doing a festival is cool. It makes you feel like you're kind of a big deal.
I suppose when you're doing the festivals, there seems to be more of a tight schedule, so it's more like you have to get started right at 4. And do you know how long you're playing today?
It's a 45-minute set.
45 minutes, so 15-minute changeover in between bands.
Yep.
I guess is what they have written here. Again, that should be a great show. Trash Pandas at 4, and Sit Kitty Sit, More Than Merry, Moose, Bridger, and The Winter. Let's talk about your show schedule, because you've got a ton of shows. I'm just going to pop up the graphic here. This is your schedule so far, and I see the crawlers over the bottom of it, but you get the idea. You've got a lot of stuff coming up. You've got Paperfest today, and then you're headed to Illinois tomorrow. You got Titletown Brewing on July 24th. You're in Minneapolis. You're in Eau Claire. You're in West Bend. You're at the Ambassador in Appleton. You're in Marinette, Beaver Dam. It's just a lot of shows.
Yeah.
I mean, is it, as far as playing all these shows, obviously everybody in the band is dedicated, because this is just a big commitment to do that many.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, does it wear away at you after a while? Like you can't really make a lot of summer plans, right? Because most of your weekends, if you've got a show scheduled in Beaver Dam, that's pretty much the whole Saturday, right?
Right. Does it wear away? Yes, but no. I would say that, and this is, I think the opinion of most of the people in the band too, that what wears away more is like the work schedule on top of it, because we all really enjoy doing the shows. This is something that, we're doing it because we want to do it. It's not like we're making a ton of money with it or something. So for me, it's like, I just wish that I could afford to work less because then I would have more time, but I don't want to give up doing the shows, because that's what I want to be doing. There's something that I just really enjoy about being on stage performing.
Hey, you bring up a good point, which I'd like to just kind of hang on for a minute here. You guys are all working other jobs as well, so it's not like this. It's not like this is your only job, being a musician.
Right.
There are people that kind of call themselves just full-time musicians, and they're playing as many shows as you guys are playing on top of the job. So you're almost doing like double work.
It's pretty much 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of things like, or what do you think of the opinion of people thinking you're playing this many shows, well, you must be making a really good living? Like, why are you working another job?
Well, it's just not the truth. Unless you get to the point where you're like, a national artist, you're not going to make a ton of money doing this kind of thing. If you are doing a cover band, you can go and make a few $1,000s a night for, playing 3 or 4 hours. But when you're in an original band, and especially, one that's a little bit newer, we've only been around a few years versus, we've played with bands that have done this 20 plus years. You're lucky if the venue gives you $100 to go play. And then we kind of rely on like merchandise sales. And a lot of that just goes back into the gas tank and, just buying food on the road and stuff, ordering more merch. So no, it's not like we're making a great living on it. So we all kind of have to have other jobs if we, want to have somewhere to live.
Do you often run into it at the merchandise table where somebody's like, can I just have a CD or can I have a shirt?
Yes.
Like, not really realizing that you guys are probably net negative, just playing that show.
Right. We've had it a couple times. Not a lot, which I'm glad because that's always an awkward conversation. But no, I mean, there's been a couple times when if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm $5 short," I'll still give them a shirt or something just because it's cool to have somebody who, wants to buy something that you have and also will go out and be wearing your shirt, and then that'll start a conversation with somebody like, "Hey, who's Trash Pandas?" So, once in a while we'll cut a deal if somebody really needs it, but no, we don't just give stuff away for free because we can't afford to.
We've got a couple questions coming in here. First of all, Mark at Rock Garden said, "Hi, Lacey."
Hi, Mark.
And let's talk about Mark really quickly here. You did a kind of a video with Mark. He's getting into this 360
Yeah.
video thing, which is really cool. He's like the first in the area to kind of dive into it, and the video is pretty unique. Can you let the people watching know like what exactly 360 video is?
Yeah, it's cool. So he's got this camera that's kind of like cylindrical, and so we'd go from filming in one spot, and then to another spot and another spot. Like we just kept filming the same kind of thing, but in different areas, different angles. And so when you get all of this kind of melded together, you can, look at this video at the end, and you're in like, one of those spinny chairs or something, and you're spinning around and you're seeing all these different angles, and there's like 5 of me running around. It's surreal. It's cool.
How long did that take to film? Was that a pretty quick?
It was actually pretty quick. I think maybe an hour or so. We just kept, going from spot to spot, going through the song again, and he'd take, the clips that he wanted out of it, and yeah, it was quicker than I thought it would be.
Was it something that you got to see the finished product right when he finished filming, or did he have to do some work on it?
Yeah, he had to do a little work on it. I think it only took him like a day or two, though. I expected, it to be a week or longer, and then all of a sudden it's like, here it is. I'm like, wow, he's really quick.
Mark, we were talking about Rock Garden, or Live at the Rock prior to the show, but Mark's doing some really cool stuff over there at Rock Garden Studios, and I really think that people should check the studio out. Go check out these Live at the Rock tapings.
Absolutely.
Because I tell everybody that's one of my favorite places to see live music, and I can't wait until Mark releases like a full schedule, because that's like it's just a really nice place to see an artist. Would you guys ever do like a Live at the Rock?
Yeah, we'd love to. We've talked to him about that a bit, and at some point we are planning to. We don't know when yet because he's got a whole bunch of stuff going on, but that is in the plans.
Yeah, Mark's a busy guy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Mark, for chiming in there. We're gonna play a little bit of the 360 video.
Sure.
Later. We're gonna play "I'm Sick," and that there's a little tiny clip in there. I didn't want to infringe on Mark's copyright though on that.
Oh,
so
sure.
But so we'll do that later. But this is a good point in the show to talk about what you did at Flatline Studios. You did a live performance at the Stillmank Brewing Company. Am I saying that right? The
Stillmank, yeah.
Stillmank Brewing Company. And that was kind of like a live thing in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Was that nerve-wracking? How did that turn out in your opinion?
It turned out really well. Nerve-wracking, I don't know. It was almost more relaxed because we had such a small, little intimate audience there. Like, you're usually playing for more people live, but in this, it's like they're recording you, so you have to think a little bit about what you're doing in that regard. But I don't know, playing to a camera is fairly simple versus a bunch of people staring at you, I think. So I don't know, it was fun. It was cool. We got to go in and just be like in the place where they're actually brewing the beer. So playing around all the tanks, and you could just like smell all of it in the air and stuff. It was just interesting. I enjoyed doing it.
You said the band wasn't really partiers or drinkers. Did you guys have a couple during the taping of that?
Yeah, I mean, our bassist, because we still had Dan at the time, he loves Stillmank stuff, so he had a few. I know Wayne had a few. At that point, Curtis wasn't 21 quite yet, so he did not have a few. And I tried one, but I'm not a beer person whatsoever. So, but I do have to say it was tolerable, which means it was good in standards of beer because I hate beer.
Let's talk about some front person issues, microphones.
Microphones.
Because normally your equipment's a microphone. You don't use any effects or anything like that on it, do you?
Not really, no.
'Cause, I mean, some musicians seem to have like pedals for vocal effects, which is
Oh no, no,
Okay.
I don't do any of that. It's kind of whatever the sound person is doing, maybe a little reverb here and there. But
Do you take your own mic typically, or just use what they have available?
yeah, we do bring. It's just like, oh gosh, I don't even remember because Wayne got it. He's the equipment dude. You know, it's a really nice mic, but it's a very basic, But we do bring that, but that's more so because I've like ended up getting like the flu after sharing mics. So, it's a nice, great sounding microphone, but I also just do it to be a little more sanitary and cautious.
With everything that happened in the last couple of years, is that something that's in your mind when you're playing a show? It's got to stay not sick for the next one, or
Yeah. I mean, especially, this past fall, there was like 3 shows that I ended up getting sick afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, this has to stop because I don't want to cancel things. And on top of that, I work full time, So that's a big reason that I started, bringing the mic to every show was because I'm like, I don't know an easier way to get sick than sharing something that's super close to
Yeah.
your mouth like that. So just, be as cautious as you can. Try to eat well, take your vitamins. The
yeah. I mean,
usual.
when you think about it, it is kind of gross because you're singing. If like some people are sort of spitting as they sing, and that gets on
Yeah.
there, and if you've got that right next to your
Oh
mouth
yeah, I
too.
mean, and if you feel like your sound isn't coming out super well, like you want to be louder, sometimes you'll end up like almost eating that thing. And yeah, you definitely get some mics that have been made out with a few times.
Is there anything that gets on your nerves that an audience does when you're performing?
I don't know, not necessarily. I just like it when they're attentive, like. And you can't always pick and choose because if you're going to go play at a bar, well, some people are there to just drink and talk with their friends or something, but it is difficult to play to an audience that isn't attentive. It's harder to keep up the energy and be like, hey, this song is new and we're so excited to play it for you, and there's nobody paying attention. So I think that would be the hardest part of it, but otherwise, just like there's always some weird person at some point who comes up and does something weird, and that's not enjoyable either. Like some guy that was like, grabbing my mic stand and doing inappropriate things with it at one show. I'm like, really, is that necessary? But, as long as you're not being a super weirdo, you're cool.
Kind of a weird question, but being a female fronting a band, do you get a lot of creeps after shows?
I do. I do. I joke with my band about it all the time. I'm like, there's always one. And there's plenty of nicer people too that, they'll come flirt with you, but when you tell them like, oh, I'm taken, I'm not interested, they're cool about that, they'll just talk about your music or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely some creepy ones, and they're usually like, way older than me and super drunk, and I'm just like, oh my God, please just go.
So when you're playing, you're normally like eyeing the danger up, like
A little bit, yeah. Can those are the kind of people that come and do the weird things too, like I was talking about. So, but I do have 3 dudes in the band with me, and they're fairly protective of that. They kind of keep an eye out too. So there was one gig that some guy kept, coming really close to me and talking, and my bassist and my drummer both just planted themselves beside me. They're like, "No, this isn't happening."
do you find that people like that don't know you, that see you perform live? Your music, a lot of it's kind of aggressive, and is that how you are like off the stage?
Aggressive? No. No. When I tell people that don't know me super well that I'm in a band, they're always very surprised because I'm a fairly quiet, soft-spoken person. overall kind of a gentle personality. I can be aggressive and, quick to get mad sometimes, but for the most part, people think that I'm super chill and they're like, you're always smiling. You're just, this cute little package with a big voice. So no, I wouldn't consider myself aggressive for the most part, but it's a good way to get those emotions and feelings out in the music without, having to necessarily be that kind of person in your everyday life.
That's well put. It's your outlet. Well, we've got a question here from Jerry. He types, question for Lacey. Has there been any discussions about other band members doing lead vocals? And conversely, if you were to pick up an instrument and learn to play, which would you choose, drums, bass, or guitar?
Nobody else really doing leads at this point, especially. Our last bassist, Dan, did a lot of backing vocals, and he's very, very good vocalist. And we did have one song written at one point that was very specific to him, so we were thinking about maybe doing him lead vocals on that one tune. But at this point, everybody that we have in the band is very happy just doing their instrumental stuff, and we are working on getting, some more backing vocals back in there since our main backup vocalist is no longer with us. But our guitarist Curtis is a very good vocalist, and I think we'll get him in there a little bit more. But no, nobody else has any interest in doing lead. What was the other part of that question?
If you had to pick up and learn one of the instruments.
That's right. I've always really wanted to learn guitar. And for a while, I, took a few lessons with a friend and I tried to do it, but I was not very good at it. And it's just the time crunch that I'm always on. I wish I always had more time to learn stuff, but I do really enjoy the guitar and I wish I was better at that.
Maybe Curtis can give you some pointers.
I'm sure that he could. I just don't know if I would pick them up very well.
Well, we mentioned that you've got the album out. There's a track on it called I'm Sick, which is the one that Mark over at Rock Garden Studios did the 360 video. Can you tell us a little bit about that song? It's kind of an angry song.
It is, yeah. And that one actually was, a lot of the lyrics on that were written by our last bassist, Dan, which is, interesting because on every other song that we have out, it was, mostly me. Whereas Dan had this idea that, his wife used to work with people that had been in abusive relationships and had gone through some really tough things. So he got this inspiration from hearing some of her stories about these women that had, gotten beaten and hurt and, that the people they were with were just really bad to them. So it just came from inspiration from not one particular event, but things that he'd heard about from his wife.
Is it kind of weird singing like his words? Or is it something that is easy for you to channel? Because when you perform it, it looks like you're feeling it.
Yeah, it is actually very easy for me to channel because, for a while I did date somebody who was not very good to me and, he didn't hit me or anything, but there was still abuse going on. So when he brought this song to me, I'm like, I like it a lot because I think a lot of people can relate to it, if not completely, the physical part. There's still a lot of people that have gone through really bad relationships that could feel this way.
So what are some of your favorite venues to play in the area?
We really like doing the Cold Shot. We have a good inn there now with the owner, Dave. He's pretty much like, yeah, whenever you guys want to play, set something up. And we always have a very good showing there. Misfits is another really good one. That's just a cool bar in general. I like how punk rock and, is... I always like kind of those hole in the wall. It's kind of a weird place, but it's super cool. So yeah, those two for this area. The Lyric Room's always a fun time in Green Bay, and I don't know. It's always fun to play down in Milwaukee and Chicago and stuff too. We'll play pretty much anywhere. But
as far as booking, do you guys do all your own bookings for the shows?
mostly we do. We do work with Self-Taught Records a little bit for the Chicago area shows, but we've only done a couple with them so far. And that was just, the guy who runs that, Brendan, he reached out to us because he liked our music and said, "Hey, do you want us to do some bookings for you?" kind of thing. And he started up this new thing recently, the self-taught records, and kind of getting it off the road coming up here. So, but yeah, besides doing the self-taught in the Chicago area, we pretty much book everything.
Are you like just reaching out to venues that you've already played at, or are you reaching out to bands you've played with? Like, how do you go about like booking? Because you've got, I mean, it almost looks like you've got a booking like company helping like with
Yeah.
everything, because you guys have a really full schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we've been asked that a couple times, and it's all pretty organic. We reach out to definitely venues that we have played at that we've done well with. We reach out to new venues that we think, look like they're good places to play, and we give them some samples of music and show them their social media and everything. Otherwise, yeah, there's lots of other bands that we work with as well. Like one of our favorites from like Janesville area is Party Marty and the Dirtbags, and he's hilarious and he's super fun to play with, and he helps get us a decent amount of shows down in Milwaukee and Janesville area too. So once you get in good with a band or a venue, they will ask you to do more shows, have you back. So it's all just making good relationships, and obviously, they have to like your music, but we spend a lot of time sending emails and messages on Facebook and phone calls, and it's, like I said, all very organic, but it's all about meeting people.
I wrote down Party Marty and the Dirtbags because I mean, just
Yeah.
that name makes me want to find out more about them.
He's awesome. So a little bit about him is he writes, his own music, and a lot of it's very funny. He does do some covers for fun too, but the Dirtbags are ever changing. It's just like a lot of local musicians in his area that he knows. So I've seen, several shows of his at this point where it's like, okay, I remember that guy from last time, but that bassist is new, so ever changing Dirtbags.
I can't believe I haven't asked you this yet. How did you guys settle on Trash Pandas?
I mean, it was fairly simple. I just I brought up the name, and the thing was, I brought it up for like a cover band in the past, and they're like, "No, I don't think that works for what we're doing." And so when we got into this original stuff, I brought it up at practice when we were talking about, we need a name, and I was just like, I've always wanted a group called Trash Pandas. I just think it sounds rock and roll, and I'm also like a big animal person, so having the raccoon logo is, something I enjoy too. And everybody was just like, yeah, I like that. It was super easy, super agreeable.
Is there a place in Appleton that you haven't played yet that you would like to play?
I mean, yeah, probably. We haven't played the Ambassador yet, and we get to do that later on in August, which is exciting because that's when we were looking into. Gibson Music Hall. That's something we've looked into quite a few times, and they don't necessarily do like our genre of music a whole lot. So that's one that we think would be super cool to play, but hasn't happened yet. So yeah, that'd be top of the list too.
Do you feel that the style of Trash Pandas, like, does that make it difficult to? Obviously, you mentioned like some of the venues with the style of music. I mean, does it even matter when you're booking shows, like what the other band's genre is?
To some degree. I mean, we wouldn't want somebody that was a country band opening for us or something, we try to keep it in the realm of like rock and roll, pop rock. But I mean, we've played with all sorts of groups, punk and metal and everything. So as long as you're in that vein, because, with us, it can be difficult depending on the venue, because some places really would rather you be like more acoustic and light or something, which I understand that's their thing. But for us, the good thing is that we have such different sounds throughout our songs that we can kind of promote us, something more than something else for certain venues and work with it that way because we don't stick with one. Like it's like not like everything is hard rock or something.
The Ambassador show you mentioned, that is during Mile of Music. Mm-hmm. How is like with Mile Music? What have you attended Mile Music in the past, or have you?
I actually have not gotten to do that, but I know a lot of people who have and told me, kind of how it works. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've heard that Mile of Music does a lot of, lighter music, and you have to know people to get in, things like that. So I thought this Acre of Tunes thing was kind of cool because it's, it's kind of within the mile without being in the mile. And so people will still be around, checking things out, and you'll still get a crowd just because people are mingling in the area.
Yeah, and you might get a chance to check out Mile of Music then.
Oh, for sure, yeah. After we play, we can walk around and see what's going on.
So what's on the horizon for Trash Pandas?
Anything and everything.
when can we expect this next album to be finished? Are we looking at like 2023? Are we looking at later in 2022?
Yeah, I would hope that it would be like early 2023. Maybe a little sooner. It depends how quickly we feel like we can write and perfect things at this point, because we're, I'd say, at least halfway done with it. But now that we have our new bassist settled in and everything, we're taking more time to write. So it really depends how quickly we feel we can pull it off.
And then, I'm guessing you're going for like another full album instead of like an EP or something like that.
Yeah, we want to do like 12 songs probably. And right now we got like 7 we're working on.
I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you. Me neither.
Besides the 360 video at Rock Garden, any videos in the works? Any inspiration to do a video now, or like do a video for one of the other songs?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've always really wanted to do. I was happy when Mark reached out just because it gave me an opportunity to go try something like that out. But yeah, it's something we've talked about and something that I think will happen, but we don't know what song yet or quite when it will, but it will happen.
Which song would you pick if you could pick a music video for one of the songs you already have recorded?
That's a good question. Maybe, we could do a fun one like Surfing in Wisconsin or Weed Smoking. But it might be fun to do a harder one like Entitlement as well, so we'd have to discuss it a little bit more.
I hope that you guys do pursue some. I think the music video aspect is interesting. I love it. Mm-hmm. Like last week when Doozy was on with their new video. Like
that was a fun one.
Kind of adds like a different dynamic to the music, but now like when I hear I'm Sick, I think of the virtual reality video, and I hear Do You Want to Get High With Me from Doozy, I think of their video. It's just weird how that like kind of attaches into your head. And I guess we're right near the end of the show, but do you watch, like, when you were growing up, did you watch a lot of music videos on YouTube? Or?
Yeah, I loved music videos, and that's, something I've always really wanted to personally do. So, yeah, that was something I really enjoyed, was watching the videos and the stories that went with them.
Well, I want to thank you, Lacey, for joining us on Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. You can check out Trash Pandas later today at Paperfest in Kimberly. All right, thanks again, Lacey.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio.